Welcome back with Tea with the Shepherd. This week we're doing things a little bit different because normally we have my husband coming in on Fridays, but since this week the passage starts with Transfiguration and it's just so in depth, I thought we'll go ahead and just open it this week and then I'll continue the rest of the week with the rest of the chapter. So I've invited him to be a part of the discussion again. And also, happy Mother's Day since yesterday, Sunday, was Mother's Day. So we are going to dive in. And he's being a little extra today. I guess did my tea rub off on you that you have to have your own cup?
I just like my cup.
Try to look a little extra wise.
Sure.
Does it somehow make you look wise to have a teacup? No, okay, you don't have a teacup yet, but
cup.
Just for the people, neither one of us are coffee drinkers. So he's not drinking coffee just to ruin that.
It's delicious.
Okay, so let's read. We're going to break up this part a little bit. We are in Matthew 17. We're going to read verse 1 through 3 first. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. Okay, so before I let you jump in, the after 6 days is giving you an understanding of what we had just talked about last week. And so this was in Caesarea Philippi where they were coming from. And now 6 days later, this is where they are going to the mountain, which is strategic because it gives you a clue as to what mountain they are on. So you want to go ahead and describe that?
Sure. So remember last week, go back to the video if you need to. They were at Caesarea Philippi in front of the Grotto of Pan, literally also known as the gates of hell. Mm-hmm. So when Jesus is saying, on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell, everything that comes out of this grotto here, will not be able to withstand the attacks of the church or the council, because the word's ecclesia, it's a ruling council, a culture-changing council. And then it says they take him up to a high mountain. Mm-hmm. So here it's the tradition says that the Mount of Transfiguration was Mount Tabor, which is down by Jerusalem. It's a long, long walk away.
There's also other indicators that go that's not possible for it to be that mountain.
The person who identified Mount Tabor as the Mount of Transfiguration was the Emperor Constantine's mother. And she did some pretty good stuff. I mean, she was able to go and identify where the crucifixion and resurrection took place. Supposedly she found the true cross, stuff like that. But, tell you what, here's where she's going to put in a picture of the gates of hell down at the bottom of the screen, mm-hmm. and you're going to look up, and boom, there's a high mountain.
It's going to take you about 6 days to get to this particular high mountain, and we're just to kind of shortcut it so we're not super long. What is this mountain?
This high mountain is the highest in Israel, and in fact is 3 times taller than the second highest mountain. I mean, when it says Jesus took him up to a high mountain, it's like, well, I wonder what high mountain they're talking about. There's only one right there, and that is Mount Hermon.
Which is also, I think, what we talked about in Matthew 4, where Satan took Jesus to before during the temptation. Very likely that was the same place. Okay?
Yeah.
So, where did they have to go through in order to get to Mount Hermon?
Well, have you talked to them about what Mount Hermon is before you?
A little bit, but you go ahead.
A little, okay. So, Mount Hermon, when you read some of the sacred texts that are not in the divinely inspired canon of Scripture, like the Book of Enoch, Jasher, Jubilees, things like that are in the Dead Sea Scrolls that were written during the Second Temple time period, just after Ezekiel and Ezra and some of those, you find that the Mount Hermon, okay, so in Genesis 6, you've got where the sons of God came to the daughters of men, and there's different arguments about who the sons of God were. But the ancient interpretation of this was the sons of God were like they were also the Elohim. Some would call them the gods, others would call them the gods of nations, others would call them like archangels or watchers. There's a bunch of different names in different cultures.
We're getting into the weird stuff on this one.
Basically, think like the really, really powerful angel, princes and principalities that Paul talks about in Ephesians, where we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers of darkness. And then he talks in Ephesians about princes and powers and principalities and thrones and dominions and so on and so. So these are like not just a regular angel, but like superpower, ruling over nations kind of things. In Daniel, we talk about the prince of Persia, the prince of Greece. Those would be this kind of angel, this kind of being.
Okay, so this was like the headquarters of these beings.
So 200 of them fell. Not all of them, because Michael, Gabriel, 200 of them fell they came down to earth. They forcibly took women and mated with them and created the Nephilim species, which are giants according to Numbers, the book of Numbers. So this is kind of where humanity goes from being cut off from God to being twisted and turned towards evil.
Because they also came and taught them.
Yeah, they came down and taught them all kinds of like war and seduction and just not good stuff.
How to twist genetics and all kinds of stuff. So it was really, really bad stuff that was taking place, specifically here on Mount Hermon. Now
that's where they came to Earth. Like that's where they when they fell from heaven, they were kicked out and they landed on whatever, touchdown on Mount Hermon. So when Jesus is taking them through Bashan, because this is the area of Bashan, Mount Hermon is in Bashan, Caesarea Philippi is right on the border of Bashan. The word for Bashan is the word for Valley of the Snake. So you've got an area that's the Valley of the Snake. This was where King Og was
I briefly touched on this when we were talking about the temptation of Jesus, because he was in
Bashan. So King Og, the giant king that Joshua and Moses and Israel had to kill off, and they're coming through killing the giants. Like all that's in Bashan. Two of the cities they had to go through, their names translate to graveyard and ghost, I think was the other one. Like the home of Molech, the home of Ashtaroth.
Okay, so
not a good place. Not a good place at all.
If you want to understand more, you're gonna have to watch his videos because he gets a lot deeper. But because of the sake of this video, we're already getting close. We're gonna wrap up just this part. We'll do a part 2. But okay, so they're in this place. It's a really bad place. It's
really, really bad, and they're walking for 6 days through hell, basically up and up and up, and like this is the home of the giants. This is the home of the dead, the shades, like ghost kind of stuff. It's another translation. Not good stuff. So the disciples are going. Just imagine the disciples walking through the desert, and you've got spooks, spooks and demons coming after them, and they get up to the highest mountain in the area, and it's where these enormously evil beings descended onto earth at, and they're in the home, like the headquarters of these creatures, these immensely powerful evil, and Jesus, I don't know, I can just imagine him turning around, kind of give him a little smile, and he transfigures into who he really is. God himself,
the veil comes off
on earth, brighter than the sun. This kind of like, it's a power struggle. It's very much a declaration, maybe not even declaration. Like this is, hey, I'm here and I'm kicking butt and taking names.
Yeah,
it's what he's doing. What Jesus is doing here with Transfiguration.
Okay, so this transformation, the way the Greeks kind of uses the word transformation, is the closest way to describe it is kind of like an animal going from an animal to a man. It's a totally different species.
Yeah, totally different kind of being.
Completely different. So this is what's taking place here in this strategic location. And this portal opens up, and we will get into the part 2. We'll discuss a little bit more since we're already kind of pushing time. But join us tomorrow.